I think collaborating saved my career, or I guess not my career, but shit, maybe my life. Just when it was just in a tough spot. Because I mean, me hitting Terrell up at the suggestion of Fonte was basically because, you know, I was plateauing creatively. And, you know, I was putting in, but like, it wasn't shifting anything. It wasn't seeming like I was growing. It seemed like I was just kind of going through the motions.
These kind of relationships that get disturbed when we don't take the time to know what it is to sing, to know how to get close to the mic again, or to get something. Singing doesn't make it happen, or maybe.
Welcome to another very special episode of Tune the Fork. Before I say the brother's name, I'm gonna tell you who he is before I tell you who he is. Writer, producer, liner note reader, inspiration to a lot of people, friends to a few, father of one, son, brother, multi-instrumentalist, music director of foreign exchange, and an overall beautiful, beautiful human being. I have the pleasure of hosting Zoe. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
I appreciate you giving me that space.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, it's you are a lot of things, man, balled up into just one beautiful human being, man. I feel like I got to lead up. That's my lead up. So
you know, artists don't take compliments well, so you know, I'm cringing up like, okay, all right.
Can he hurry up?
Yeah, it's cool. I appreciate it.
I know sometimes we're known for, we have a public-facing, you know, persona, and that gets overshadowed by all of these other titles and roles that we have in life, man. And I think when I have people come on, it's important for me to recognize that they are a lot of things, you know, and a lot of those other things actually feed into the art. That's what helps
100%.
foster that public-facing art and work and all of that kind of stuff. So I appreciate you agreeing to do this, man.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. No question.
I see you've got some interviews out online, but you know, I take it as a deep, sincere honor, man, to be able to host you and just talk about a bunch of things. When I reached out to you initially to see if you'd be interested, I just find people's lives fascinating too, and their origin story. You connect on so many different levels with people through sound. I'm always curious to know the path that people took to get to perfecting and honing and perfecting that craft into something that's just, to the right person, man, it's measurable.
Yeah.
And so in that, let me take a step back, bro, before I start that. You're looking good.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
You posted something
Working on it.
about a couple of weeks ago saying 7 years you've been, this is the lightest and
It's the lightest I've been in since 2015.
what's been going on with that?
Well, I mean, I play sports. So, you know, having a baseball background, always working out, always running, always, you know, being on some type of move, like health wasn't really anything that I really had to concentrate on.
Okay.
It was just always there. It was just always kind of built in. Then when baseball stopped, then, you know, weight started fluctuating because, you know, then you start working, you your time gets divided between so many different things. Whereas when I was playing ball, my time was divided between baseball and school.
Yeah.
A little bit of social life, but like baseball and school was the main factor. On top of that, I mean, I was in my early 20s. So, you know what I mean?
Metabolism
You got that too.
on 1,000.
Yeah, we was eating Waffle House, like it
Taco
was
Bell,
nothing. Yeah.
40 ounces.
At 2 in the morning,
Yeah.
and going to bed, and then waking up at 5 to go condition at 6. And,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that's, yeah. If the things, I mean, all of us wish we had what we had now back then.
Yeah.
Up here, but like, but yeah, once baseball stopped, then it was, the weight started fluctuating, and where my normal playing weight was like 220, 215, 220. Then I started seeing 250 and 260, and it's like, who, I don't even know who this is.
Yeah.
And I was up and down. Around 2015, I had gotten down again. And was down to about 240, I think. And I was like, word up, this is coming along. And then my dad died.
In 2015?
Yep, at the end of 2015.
Okay.
And after that, I was like, fuck it. Cause
Yeah.
like, at that point, for me, and I know a lot of people I know I have a lot of witnesses for this, but like for me, food is a lot. Like it's celebratory.
Yep.
But it's also, when you get down, it's what makes you happy. You know what I mean? So like when my dad died, I was like, shit, fuck this shit, man. I'm about to eat.
Yeah.
I'm about to eat whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's whatever. So the next time I got on the scale, I was back at like 260 something. And from there, like I hadn't really come back down at all. I think in 2018, I tore my knee up. And at that point, I was up to 280, and brought it back down a little bit. Going through some shit, like 2019, got back up 280, and like I'll look at pictures from that time and be like, yo, like I don't even know who the fuck this is.
Yeah.
And 2019, 2020, pandemic, we in the house.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, we all scared to go outside.
Yeah.
So it's like I wasn't exercising. Again, to make you happy, food. And on top of the food, it was drink. Mm-hmm. So it was like, I'm just at home. I was scrolling through my pictures the other day. I just had a pan of like penne pasta with, and that shit looked fantastic. Like it was, vodka sauce and, some ground turkey. I'm like, yo, that shit looks incredible. But like, I would eat some of that and then eat off of that for the week. Yeah. Drink and not do anything. 280. And so from 280, now I'm sitting at like 240, 245 right now.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
Look good, man.
Feeling great.
And for me with the weight thing, so I used to be around 240. Mm-hmm. I had a 40-inch waist, bro, and I had like an 18 and a half or so inch neck, 40 ounces, bro, and just damn. My suits, I wore a 42, 44 jacket. Damn. Yeah, bro. Yeah.
That's like my jacket.
Yeah, like I was robust.
Yeah.
And I was also the most unhappiest I had been in my life. Mm-hmm. And my food, mm-hmm. and I was also drinking more mm-hmm. than I like. And it wasn't until a little bit later in my life where I realized, oh, all of this shit is connected, like in a real way. And once I started pulling the string to see what else was gonna unravel, it empowered me to make different types of decisions and understanding like how the stuff was connected mm-hmm. to, because I didn't know before.
On top of the fact, you want your primary doctor off your back.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't want to hear anything from my primary care doctor. Like I go in, when I went in, was it last week? I had an appointment with him, and he was liking my progress.
Nice.
I'm also working on, I'm working on blood pressure stuff
Yeah.
too, which is, that's
Shit people can't see.
it's family. That's, I got a family history. I mean, my father passed from heart issues, and so I mean, I know that it's in my DNA, and I have to now at age 44, like I have to. It's a full-time job.
Mm-hmm. It's a
Taking
lifestyle.
Yeah. So like, I can't even go into Waffle House anymore. I've got to cut that. If you get a cheat day or something like that,
for sure.
do your thing. But like, if I'm eating breakfast, I'm eating oatmeal with some blueberries, cinnamon and strawberries.
Yeah.
Or like some cereal. In the afternoon, like everything I eat right now normally comes with like a bag of spinach. So, keep the leafy greens on the side, broccoli, something, add that to it so that I'm eating that stuff at least twice a day.
Dope.
You know what I mean? To try to keep that BP under wraps. Cause I mean, was put on medication for the first time 2 years ago. And, my entire goal, even with the weight loss and healthier decisions and all of that, is to
get off that shit.
Get off the meds, man. Cause I don't want to be dependent on that.
Are you a junior?
No. I mean, I'm named after my father, but technically I'm not a junior because he didn't have a middle name.
Okay.
And
you do?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm a junior. And like, I get the feeling, dog, that your dad was like your everything to a point, to a degree.
Yeah, and it was funny is like me and him had a really complicated relationship.
Okay.
I still am really close to my mother, always. Me and him really didn't start getting along until I left for college. And I don't know if it was like the miss factor, or if it was, he's going to college to be a man. I don't know what it was, but it was like a, switch. And when I went off to college and came back home, like it was different. And I was like, wow, this is like we actually getting along. And it's not a thing where it's like he's, trying to be overbearing or, be super stern or be, just be hard on me for no reason, which is what it was. And like, we butted heads a lot. But when I went off to college, which I'm glad happened, because I had that time from college to 2015 with him to where we were good. So that was a good thing. That was a good thing.
Do you think it was a part of your? Because you the oldest, right? You got a sister who's younger.
Yep.
Do you think that was a part of him trying to instill a rite of passage, so to speak, like?
Kind of, sort of. It was. I kind of think it was kind of almost a hazing.
Okay.
Of his son. In which now that I have my own child, I have a daughter. I don't parent that way. I parent, and I always say, me and Tall Black have this conversation all the time. It's like leading. You lead with love.
Yeah.
That's how I parent. Because I don't want to, you're going to get hazed enough through life. You go to a new school, you're going to get hazed in some way. You start a new, job. You start a new, anything new in, situation in life, like you're going to have some type of hazing.
Yeah.
That's not my job. My job is to love you and to guide you through, these certain obstacles. So that's what I do with her. And, making sure, like I'm heavy with communication with her. She's about to be a teenager next year.
She's 12?
She's 12. And, just making sure, I know that she's not going to tell me everything.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure to give her, consistently give her the option. It's like, even if you're not, like, that you can come to me with little to no judgment, and let's walk through this thing, whatever it is.
When one of the things I find fascinating about you, man, is you kind of had two loves in the beginning: music and baseball. and you started out very early, piano lessons. Were you connected to music in a way that made you want to keep doing it, or was it more of like a chore that ended up leading you to do baseball?
In the beginning, music listening as a fan was a love. Music playing was a chore.
Okay.
And that's just because, I was 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You 5 and 6, you come home, like that was the era of you come home, take off your school clothes, put on your play clothes, and you go out and you get busy until the street light come on.
Right.
Barring, you did your homework or, whatever. So, it was just a lot of energy that I had, a lot of outside energy.
Yeah.
I didn't have energy to sit down at a piano and practice for an hour or a half hour. And what was funny was, our piano used to be in the basement. And clearly, if you're in the basement, you make noise, you can hear it through the floor.
Right.
But as an elementary school kid, you don't think like that. Logic doesn't work like that. So
Right.
Go downstairs and I'm mad. Mom's and brought me in from outside. I'm outside playing tag or football or riding bikes or whatever. Come back inside, and she's like, you got to practice. Like, damn, man. Go down there, do like 2 scales, come back upstairs. I'm done. And mom was like, no, you're not. Like, you've been down there like 30 seconds. Go down there and finish your stuff. So back then, it was really a chore.
Okay.
It wasn't really something I enjoyed. If you had told me that I would be doing this professionally, for a living, I would have laughed you out the room. I started falling in love with baseball probably around 85, 86.
And that put you at what age?
That's I was probably about 7, 8.
Okay. So mom was pushing the lessons?
Mom was pushing the lessons, but she was also pushing baseball.
Okay.
Because she was a huge baseball fan. My father was a big football fan. And so I would see my mom, and plus the Tigers had just won the World Series, 84.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was all around. And I credit myself because like now I'm a huge like numbers guy. Like I'm like Rain Man with numbers. I remember numbers really well, which is why I'm really good with birth dates. And I credit that to baseball because baseball is huge on statistics and who has the most this and who did this, and now they got even more statistics that they added on in the last 10 years. It's confusing as shit even to me, and I'm just like, yo, like what is going on? But it's based heavily in statistics. But that was something that she got me into. I remember one Easter, maybe 86 or 87, she bought me like a baseball card holder.
Oh, wow.
That looked like a baseball, which I still have. And then she bought me some Topps baseball cards. And I just remember looking on the back like, yo, this is crazy. Like they had all the player stats and where they was from, their birth dates, and I'm just like, yo. So I got hooked. I was hooked.
So when did you at what point, was there ever a point in time where you shifted from music and went to baseball full time?
Yes. And that was right when I started baseball, probably around 87. 87,
Okay.
80. I think my first year I played was 88, I believe. I think it was 88. If it wasn't 87, it was 80. I was 9 or 10.
Okay. So you go all in to baseball. Mm-hmm. So much so, bro, that you got good.
Yeah.
And got drafted to the Toronto Blue Jays. What was that? What was happening? Tell me about that piece of it.
Yeah, I dove head first into baseball. It wasn't a big learning curve for me. First season I was like an all-star. Because by that time I had studied it so much. I would go outside, and it's funny, like if you go to the house that I kind of grew up in Southfield, Michigan, there's a big tree. There's 2 big trees in the front yard. And even if you drive past it now, you can still kind of see it. But like I would go outside, my godfather who lived across the street gave me his softball bat, this big metal bat. I was like, man, this thing is huge. And I would go outside and simulate full baseball games by hitting on this tree. I had no ball, nothing. So I would hit the tree, and then I'd, run around, if you got a double, whatever. And hit like this big hole in the tree where there's like all the bark is stripped off, all of, like everything. It was right in front of the house. Surprised the house even sold after, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's this huge hole, and I remember my godfather seen me tearing this tree up, and he ended up getting me a tee and a ball.
Okay.
You stick it in the ground, you hit the ball, and it comes back to you, whatever. So that's how, I would do that every day. I would do that every day.
What position did you play?
At first, pretty much through high school, I played first base and I pitched.
Oh.
But interesting, like I'm playing first base, but I'm like the fastest on the squad all the time. And so my high school coach ended up taking me. He was like, yo, we got to put you in the outfield, because if you want to get drafted, they're not going to draft like a speedy first baseman. You got to play.
Yeah. So
he started playing me in center field, and that's what I played. I played center field. Got drafted by Toronto. What was that? June 4th of '96.
Out of high school.
Out of high school. They sent a telegram.
What?
They sent a telegram, dog. So I've got the telegram.
You got the telegram?
Of me getting drafted. I still got it hung up in my room in Michigan. And I was drafted in the 13th round by Toronto.
Did you play?
No, I didn't. And the way that works is I had a choice. I had to choose. So the dude that was I cannot think of his name. I can see his face, but I can't think of his name. What they would do is they would offer you a certain amount of money. Sometimes you would get offered, money for books or school or something like that. But they didn't want you to do that, because if you went into school and started playing,
right,
your pro eligibility is done until I think your junior year is how it used to work.
Oh wow! So you got to do that before you register.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So his whole thing leading up to drafting me was, are you going to give us a shot? Are you going to give us a shot? And we kind of had to teeter the line between Toronto and schools, because they were like, well, you getting heavily recruited. Are you going to go pro, or is this something that we can kind of bank on? So, we got schools in one ear, pro in the other ear. And they ended up, like Toronto, they offered me some pretty good money at that point. I think it was like 5th round money. It was like $75K to sign.
In '96?
In '96, signing bonus. But the way that baseball works is, at least back then, you were getting an $850 a month salary. So you sign your signing bonus $75K, but ongoing you're getting $850 a month, not a week.
Wow.
A month. And so a lot of cats, during the day they would have to work.
Yeah.
So.
And that's cool for you because you 18 years old, but
right.
For a 25 or 30-year-old
right.
with a couple kids,
yeah, with a family, that's you got to make a decision.
Yeah.
And so, we were thinking like, okay, let's say you go in here, you go pro, and, there's so many different levels before you even get to the majors. There's rookie ball, low A, mid A, high A, double A, triple A, then majors.
Oh, shit.
So it's seven levels. And, it's like, what if you get injured? What happens? Then you're out. And then you're 19, 20, 21 years old with no school credits at all. You got to start over. So At the time, I mean, a lot of people don't know. I mean, baseball programs don't have a whole lot of scholarship money to just toss around like a basketball or football. So I wasn't getting a lot of full scholarship offers. I got one from University of Detroit, and I got another one from Western Kentucky. And I didn't want to stay at the crib, so that's where I went. I went to Western Kentucky, and they saw me because I had played in a tournament at Western Kentucky's field, like a month prior, like in June of '96.
So you played for Western Kentucky.
I played in a summer league.
Summer league, okay.
That went down there, and apparently, I guess one or two of the coaches was there.
So you accepted an offer from Western Kentucky.
Yep.
And you went there and you played for that club there.
Yep. So once I accepted that offer, the pro offer is now off the table. And so I played Western Kentucky from '96 to 2000.
Now, this whole time, you're just digesting music.
Yep.
You're not playing.
But one thing did happen in between that time, and that was, one, I stopped lessons maybe around that same time, maybe around 88, 89, 90, somewhere around there.
So like freshman in high school, no, middle school.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like 5th grade, 6th grade, somewhere around there. I can't even really pinpoint it. And what ended up happening from there was I learned how to play by ear. And when I learned to play by ear, that's when it got fun. And so that's when the passion for playing music started. And
As you were playing baseball?
Yep. I was like 11.
Okay.
I was like 11, learning to play by ear. Because I remember, picking out like Jodeci songs. I had Michelle A's first album. Like I was picking up that stuff, and you play it for your friends and watch their reaction. It's like, oh shit, like something's happening here. And I just kept that in my back pocket, because even in college, like I didn't have my keyboard down there maybe until my junior year. And what I would do was, after in between classes, like if I had morning classes, if I had a couple hours, I would go to the arts building.
Okay.
And they had piano rooms. And I would just go in there and see if one of the piano rooms was open. And if it wasn't, I'd go ask for the key and open one up and play until I had to go to practice. And that's how I would kind of practice during like my freshman and sophomore year.
So you were just playing what you heard. You weren't necessarily making your own stuff at that time.
Not really. I had let me see, my freshman year of high school, '92, my father bought me my first keyboard, which was a Proteus. I can't think of the model. Proteus keyboard, and then he bought me a sequencer, which is a brother sequencer. I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
And what I would do was, my training was basically recreating songs off the radio. So like, for example, the All Night Long remake by Mary J. Blige, I did that. And, learn how to sequence, learn how to, learn about song structure, learn about, intro, verse, hook, change, learn about different stuff, like, oh, that goes there. And that happens in a lot of these different songs. Interesting.
You saw a pattern.
Yeah. I would do that with R&B and hip hop songs. So I would go in and recreate them. It sounded like whatever, because I was using everything from the keyboard stock sounds.
Yeah.
A couple of them sounded close. Maybe if I listened to them now, I'd be like, no, they didn't. They sounded close to me then.
Yeah, yeah. And your ear in '90s probably different than your ear, now.
Very much so. But it was still good.
Yeah.
Because like, even when I listen to songs now, I'd be like, oh yeah, I remade that joint, as practice. And I ended up taking all the joints and putting them on a cassette tape. So I still have the tape.
No shit.
Of my keyboard creations. And then right before I went to college, that's when I started making my own stuff.
Okay.
And I was like, you know, but it would be sparse. It'd be like, you know, just maybe one here, maybe one the next year. And, you know, cause I was like, let me make one before I go to school so I could play it for cats.
Yeah.
And see what they, you know, see what they think. Cause you know, at that time, you know, I needed that validation on my music. I don't give a shit now, but like
Right.
then, you know, that to start up was like, yo, do I have something or should I just, you know, keep it at baseball?
So you go to school, play baseball, still messing around with the music. Baseball's done. You out of school in what year?
2000.
Okay. So the majority of your time and energy has been spent on this one specific thing. When do you make the shift to music?
Pretty much the week of.
No shit.
Cause I'm realizing like after we get back, I think we had a, where were we? Was it New Orleans? I want to say we were in the Sun Belt tournament that year. I think we were in the Sun Belt tournament the last 2 or maybe 3 years of my career. And when we played that last game and came back to try to figure out, you know, if we qualified at all for any type of College World Series, and then we didn't hear nothing. I remember leaving the locker room. I didn't really say nothing to nobody because my senior year, I was mad as fuck because I had been a starter for my first 3 years.
Okay.
My last year, you know, I was a graphic design major. So all of my art classes, a lot of my art classes that I needed to graduate were in the afternoon. And so I remember approaching my coach before the semester even happened and was like, yo, you know, a lot of my classes that I need to graduate pretty much on time are in the afternoon, which is directly in conflict with baseball. You know, a lot of times our practice, if we had practice, we would start at 1 o'clock. And the classes I would need would be like 1:30, 2 o'clock, 3:30, you know, something like that. And so he and I had worked something out to where I would go down to practice early, hit with a coach, field with a coach, do drills, you know, with a coach independently.
Yeah.
Start with the team and then go until my class starts. And I was like, cool. So this all works. I'm like, cool, you know, that's what's up. We can work this out. So the first, you know, opening day comes and I'm sitting on the bench. And I'm like, okay, it's just one game, whatever. Whole series sitting on the bench.
Oh, wow.
And so like, I just started getting this resentment, man. And you know, it was already, being in Kentucky is already a culture shock. I go from playing in Detroit, all black team, we're like this.
Yeah.
Even to this day, a lot of us are like this. To going to Kentucky and like it's just me and another black dude on the team who I'm still super close with. But like sophomore, junior year, I was the only black dude on the team. Wow. And in my senior year, it was me and another freshman that they had brought in. And it's like, you know, most of my day is spent with these white guys who don't know nothing about me at all. You know, I remember them asking like my roommate all kinds of wild shit. It's like, so what's it like rooming with him and all this kind of, I'm like, nigga, what? He would be telling me and him still cool, like we still close. That's my man. Like
That's funny.
Like, yeah, he would be like, yeah, such and such asked me so-and-so about you. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, am I not human? Like, what the fuck is you talking about?
And you were probably their first close
100%.
interaction with
100%.
a black dude, a black person. Shit.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. So it was already a weird,
Yeah.
you know, transition anyway. And then like I see I'm on the bench and I'm like, this about to be a regular thing? Oh yeah, I'm checking out. I'm pretty much checking out because I'm not connected to a lot of you cats on the team.
Anyway.
And Yeah.
So that was your senior year.
That was my senior year.
And when that joint stopped,
I walked out the locker room. I ain't say shit to nobody.
and then you start on the music.
Yep. Because by that time I had my keyboard there already. I had my sequencer there, and I started experimenting.
Now, there are a lot of people who say they don't need nobody, and this is kind of like how they move and the energy that they give off. And watching some of the footage of you and how you kind of started and really began taking off it almost felt like it was an accident in a way from what I was saying, but there were people in your life that were really pivotal to connecting certain dots to kind of like get you to the next phase of who you would ultimately end up becoming and all of that kind of thing.
Right.
And one of those people was, I believe, JB or JD. He's a DJ in Atlanta.
John Doe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were working on music. What album was, because this is your first album that you have worked on out of school, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about that piece.
All right, so like I was just working, cause like I was immersing, like just drowning myself in music. Anything that JD had produced, anything that Pete Rock had produced, anything that Premier had produced, I was just, I need all of it. And this is the time when Napster broke too. So
you got it all.
I got it all. I can't even front. I did end up buying a lot of that shit though. Because,
Sure.
Yeah, nah, but
Nah,
because you know them Napster copies was some bullshit.
Yeah, some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm just fully just taking all this music in, and you know, in turn making my own. So a lot of my early stuff, I always joke and say, you know, it sounded like, you know, just somebody trying to bite Dilla, which it kind of was. You know, that was basically my musical idol at the time. And what I would do is I would make these tapes, and John Doe he was my classmate. Like he went to Western Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
I met him through another classmate of mine who was in one of my graphic design classes, and he was like, "Yo," he was like, "You need to meet John and blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Cool." And the crazy thing was me and John maybe worked on music one time.
Oh wow.
When we lived down the street from each other. We didn't start working again for real until he moved to Atlanta. And then I'm taking trips to Atlanta to get into the studio. But what I would do is I would make these tapes and send it to him just as an ear. Check them out, see what you think.
Did you weren't thinking about necessarily trying to break or anything? You're just making music at
I'm
this
just
point.
making music because I love to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like you talking about, that was a strictly for the love part of my life.
Making no money.
Nope.
Just making music. So you send the tape to John Doe. Then what?
And the feedback was positive. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, shit, let me make something else. Send that back down. And same thing. And then he's telling me about, somebody else who likes it may want one. I'm like, what? What the fuck? And so I'm like, all right. So I ended up making the first album, CDR as hell. It's called A Bliss.
A Bliss?
A Bliss, yeah.
Okay.
And so I don't even think the joints had names. I think it was like just beat number, blah, 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 beat number. And, I put a couple remakes on there, and I think I remade like What a Fool Believes and something else, maybe something for Aaliyah, because I think she had just died in the plane crash. And so I sent that down to him. And he was like, yo, man, he was like, so my man Eddie Meeks, shout to Meeks, he was like, he want to use this joint for our album. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. So now I'm feeling like a for real producer, because I'm like, you know, my name's about to be in the credits. Like that's huge. That's a huge deal. That's the shit I go through when I'm looking, you know, when I'm listening to an album. Like I'm going through that shit and like I'm paying attention to who produced what.
Liner note reader.
Yeah. Like that's how you discover and connect dots between different projects and artists. So they ended up using a joint on there. So my first production credit was on the Prophetics album, High Risk, and it was called Quitters. And that shit was so crazy. Like I playing it for my moms, and like she was like, you know, I don't really understand what he's saying, but it sounds good. I'm like, well, shit, that's all I need.
Were you going by Zoe back then too?
Yep.
Okay. Exclamation point?
Yep.
Okay.
And the only reason why I did that was because I added the exclamation point one, so it wouldn't be plain, because I'm like, you know, there's a ton of Zoes out here.
Right.
Let me add the exclamation point. And plus, it was a nod to graffiti writing.
Who?
Anybody. Like,
Oh,
when
I
cats
got you.
Would
I got you.
Tag some shit and they add the exclamation point. I'm like, I'm gonna do that.
Got you.
Cause like my handwriting my handwriting borderline looks like tagging.
Okay.
So I was like, let me just add that shit on there just to stylize it, and it's stuck. Here we are 20 some years later.
So what happens, when did you decide to do that first album, the Zoe Presents?
Well, by that time I had done like 5 of the CDR joints, and I was just, it was just a collection of shit that I had done up to that point. So Bliss was like 2001, and I was so hyped up off of that to take my music, put it on CD, and play it in my car. Like that was the shit to me.
Yeah.
I did that shit. I think I finished it and played it. I was still in Bowling Green at the time, Kentucky.
Okay.
Because I was taking like some preliminary courses to get an MBA, which I never got. And I put that joint in the car and rode around. It was like 2, 3 in the morning. Rode around, played it twice. And I ended up going to Walmart. Like I felt so good about this shit. I went to Walmart and I got like a pack of like 20 mailers. And I was like, I'm about to make 20 CDs and send this shit off to 20 of my friends. And so that's what I did. I made 20 CDs, sent them off. I don't even know if these cats still have that original copy.
You still got it?
I still got it, yeah.
Okay.
I still got it. But I was like, I'm gonna send this mug home. I'm gonna send it to my boy. I'm gonna send it to my homegirl. And, you know, just let them see. Like, cause at that point, everybody knew me for baseball. And I always joke and say, like, it's always a tough transition to go to get people to follow you from sports to music. Yeah. Because it ain't always good.
Yeah, it's not.
And so I was like, you know, I'm gonna change that shit. I'm gonna change that narrative, and, you know, make sure that people know that this is for real.
Man, when I listen to your early stuff, there's some Dilla-esque type stuff, but you can tell that you're in there, and that you're feeling your way around. You're trying different sounds. You're trying, you know, different things to see what works. And and there's a lot of, it's like 22 songs or something, or because they're just like a beat tape in a way. But the shit is so solid. That you can tell that there's something there. You take, what's the name of the, Zoe Presents?
Passion and Definition.
Passion and Definition, thank you. I don't know why I keep wanting to say process. Passion and Definition. I feel like John Doe was like a very pivotal person to get you to that point. That just kind of said, that kind of turned the lens back on you to say, you can do this shit. And here's proof. And it put the battery in your back, and then you started really hunkering down and really getting into it more and more and more.
100%. Like when their album came out and I actually saw my name in the credits, cause like they had Doom on the album. I'm like, yo, I'm on the album with Doom.
Wow.
Not a song with Doom, but on the same album.
Yeah.
Like that became my goal. I was like, I want more production credits on other people. And so he had even, John had passed my CD to let other cats hear him. So this cat named Rubik, so I'm still good with now. Another cat named Jax, rest in peace, who I remember Jax had called me and left this long message. And he was like going off. He was like, yo, he's out of New York. He's, yo, B, yo, this shit is crazy. And that was like the first time I had heard like somebody really going nuts off of my music. And so we ended up doing something together. Me and Rubik's ended up doing something together with John. And I was just like, yo, like this is it. At that point, I wanted to be, a hip hop producer. And it's just as easy as me making beat CDs and passing them out and then getting folks to rap on it. But the thing is that nobody told me that a lot of niggas is broke. So it's like, all we going to be doing is spinning our wheels in a lot of cases. So a crazy thing ended up happening through my man Nick Speed, who's a producer at the Crib in Detroit. I met Elzai.
Okay.
He had played one of them 5 joints, one of them 5 CDs he had played for Elzai. And I think it was the last one. I think it was the 5th one. And El was like, who was that? He was like, man, we got to get him in the studio. Like he was trying to get one of the joints off the album for Slum Village. And I was like, word? Because at that point, Slum and Jay, like these dudes is God stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And so we ended up meeting. Matter of fact, both of them had came to the Crib. And
Crowded room studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he gave me this CD that had a really rough version of Closer. And if I remember right, I think I still got it. I think I still got that version.
My bad.
It's was it Batien's verse? I know it was Elzai's verse and maybe Batien's verse, but really nothing else. There wasn't no hook on it, nothing. And he was just like, can you replay this sample? And it was the Don't Say Goodnight Ozzy Brothers sample, which ironically I had remade on one of my other beat CDs.
That's crazy.
And I was like, yeah, I popped it in and I turned the Rhodes on and he started playing and I figured it out in like 10 seconds. And he was like, man, you gotta come to the studio. I was like, bet. And so I think the following like Monday or Tuesday, I was in Barack Studios meeting T3 and RJ Rice and playing keys for Closer.
You're on that joint? Like
Yeah.
the
I play keys
the studio?
on Come Closer by Slum Village on Detroit Deli. Now the funny thing is that I'm not credited on the joint.
Okay.
And the reason why, I'm gonna remember this shit because this was the first check I ever got in music. It was $300. They was like, oh, you played on it? Cool. Cut a check right then and there. I was like, this all I gotta do? I'll be back tomorrow and see what y'all need. And it had in the note, it had, replayed Isley, blah, blah, blah. And like maybe about a year or so later, when the album actually came out in 2004, I remember at that point, me and DJ House Shoes had like literally worked at all of the record stores in the area. So he was like, yo, come to the crib, kick it. I'll get all your shit in these stores. I was like, bet. So I would go over there, kick it with him. We listen to music, and then we would go to different record stores, and he'd get my records.
The
Passion
definition joint.
The Passion and Definition in different stores. So it would be in like Melodies and Memories on the east side, Record Time, both, I think both locations, Jazz and Jams, where he worked at currently at that time. And we went into this spot. It was like I think it was like a warehouse spot called Angot. And Detroit Deli Vinyl was sitting out there. It just came out. And I was like, word the fuck up, man. I'm looking through it. And
Thinking
I
you gonna see your
joked with
name?
him. I was like, that'd be fucking crazy if my name wasn't in here. I don't even know why I said it. I was like, that'd be crazy. And sure enough, looked, and the keys was credited to somebody else. I was like, nigga, are you kidding me? And so that really pushed me, you know, because I mean, I think a lot of Detroit niggas got a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
And that tripled my chip. Cause I was just like, yo, you know, at this point, you need to be doing this shit bigger, or you need to be doing it better, or you need to be doing it at somebody. You know, think of somebody that you want to go at and do it. Like, I was taking my sports competitive mentality and bringing it to music.
That's what's dope about it. Mm-hmm. And I think that the ethic of the work ethic associated
yeah.
and transferring that, because one of the things Terrell Tall Black says about you, like you got a motherfucking framework, you know, that's different than some other creatives who like to just, it's like, nah, this is the box. And and not box in terms of creativity, but just in terms of the
focus.
time allotment, the focus, the attention on this thing.
Because one thing sports will do is teach you discipline, discipline on time, what it's, you know, how important it is, other people's time, like all of that stuff. And then you take that and you put it into music, and it's like, yo, even, you know, live performances, you know, when we're on stage with someone else, or we're opening for someone else, or, you know, we want to annihilate them.
Yeah.
We friends, we cool always, but man, we don't want you to be comfortable coming on the stage after us. Yeah. And that's, to me, that's you know, that's my sports background. Yeah. Like, you know, we used to play in the city. You know, in the city, it's like, you know, cats on each of these teams, which means you want to beat them worse. You know what I mean? Like, when you play against your friends, you want to whoop their ass.
I'm gonna hold off on that piece. John Doe, house shoes, getting Passion and Definition in the spaces. You do a remix with Little Brother. It makes its way to Fonte, unbeknownst to you. You end up meeting Fonte and giving him a Passion and Definition CD, introducing yourself, saying, oh, and he remembers you as the person who did the remix, which kind of solidified you as somebody that he needs to remember. Talk about that point of your life, because when I look at your story, dude, just so there's a lot of love. There's a lot of motherfucking support. It's like a community, and there's a lot of there are things that I feel transpired in your life that were so beautiful and meaningful that actually get you to a certain point that I feel is reflected in a lot of your music that I didn't understand until I actually started digging. Right. And so what I really am trying to highlight is the relationships that you have that have been afforded to you through your hard work, man, and your dedication and your love for this shit and your respect for the craft, and how people pick up on that and want to actually connect with you and support in that way. That I don't think a lot of people, I feel, are just in this very transactional kind of relationship with most things in their life. What am I gonna, I'm only gonna do this thing if I'm gonna get something from it. And your life is just I feel, especially your musical career at least, is like a constant reciprocation of something that you've already decided to put out into the world that just so happened to come back to you in this dope ass, impactful, meaningful way that gets you to the next point, and the next point, and the next point. That's a lot, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay. Because Fonte, I feel like, is one of those people that you connected with that kind of like shifted, but it was through work that you had already done before that even put you in a position to have that relationship.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fonte said he hated motherfuckers doing Little Brother remixes. Mm-hmm. Most of the ones that he heard sucked. And he said he didn't, let me rephrase it, because I'm it's not that he hated the remixes, he hated the bad ones. He hears yours that was actually good. Mm-hmm. What happened? How did the relationship, once you gave him the Passion and Definition album, he went back and listened to it. What happened after that? How did you guys connect to actually start doing music?
That was in like September of 2005, if I'm remembering right. It was after Little Brother show in Ann Arbor at the Blind Pig. So I met a lot of cats that night. I met D-Brock, met Darren Brockington that night because he was
cold-blooded.
I may have met Pooh, I can't remember. But you know, I was basically there to meet Fonte, because through the good message boards back then, the Lawn Justice League message board, I heard that he had heard the remix. I had no clue. I had put the remix out. I had actually done two. I'd done Whatever You Say, and I did The Way You Do It, and I put it on Redefinition. The only reason why I was doing remixes was because I started hearing a lot with Passion and Definition, like, you know, Passion and Definition is dope, but like, I love to hear, you know, what you do with people singing and blah, blah, blah. So House Shoes, again, like, he would pass me 12 inches with acapellas on them. Be like, yo, take this one, take this one, take this one. So I just had a bunch of 12 inches and I'm just picking through and, you know, doing remixes so I can show what I could do with actual vocals. And so, yeah, he heard the joint. I think he had told me that he had some of my music in his iPod already, which makes sense to me now, because knowing Fonte knows, you know that he has his ear to the street, his ear to the ground for new artists and new music, always, even more so now.
Oh, wow, okay.
So looking back, like, that makes so much sense to me. So that was like September. You know, I would call every now and then, because I was like, I'm gonna call him, and you know what I mean, he ain't gonna pick up, like, you know.
So y'all exchanged numbers?
Yeah, we exchanged info that night, and you know, called him, and he would actually pick up and shit. I'm like, oh shit. And I think I passed him something to maybe rhyme over, and he was like, that shit is dope. He was like, but I don't have nothing to add to it. I was like, okay, cool. And it was cool because, you know, I feel like a lot of folks would take that and just be like, man, fuck that nigga, man, blah, blah, blah. But it was like, oh, okay, cool. You know, it wasn't nothing disrespectful. It was just, he was like, I can't do nothing on it.
Yeah.
Word up, all right. And so I don't even remember why I hit him up to do this, but I was working on Just Visiting, the original one, the first one. Doing a remake of Steppin' Out by Joe Jackson. And I asked him if he would sing the hook on it. And he was like, bet, send it to me. So I sent it to him. That was like at the end of the year. That was like December 2005. Sent it to him. Maybe about a week later, if that, he sent me the hooks. I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like rapping ass Fonte is singing these hooks on Steppin' Out. I'm like, yo, this shit is crazy. Don't nobody got this.
Mm-hmm.
And so we put it out, you know, Stepping Out featuring Percy Miracles at the time.
What's it called?
Percy Miracles, his you know what I mean, the alter ego joint.
Yeah.
And it was cool. It was like he wrote like a little endorsement, you know, for me to put on the album sticker. And
That was when folks was doing that back in the
yeah,
day.
yeah. Yep.
That shit's cold.
Yep. And then I pressed up 1,000 of them joints on vinyl, and a distributor in Japan bought half of them. So whatever I paid for was already paid.
Nice.
So the rest of it was profit. I was like, shit, this works. And as soon as I put that out was when I moved to Maryland.
When did y'all get into the studio together the first time?
Oh man. That didn't happen until together, both of us in the studio. That didn't happen until Sunstorm time. That didn't happen until maybe 2008.
Okay.
But we started working for real. Well, I mean, Stepping Out. But then right after that, he had hit me to do the Stevie remake for Leave It All Behind. If She Breaks Your Heart.
Oh, was that on
The original?
was that on the joint that where All This Love?
Mm-hmm.
That's on. Is it on that? Okay, cause that shit. Anyway.
Yeah, the Leave It All Behind album. So he hit me to do that, and I remember when he hit me, I was like, yo, I got an idea for that shit already, and I ended up working it out and sent it back to him. Matter of fact, did we work on? Hold on, I may be talking out of order. We may have done Africa before that.
That was hard.
We may have done Africa right before that. Because at that point, like for him to reach out, because I'm sitting there like, for him to reach out to me for foreign exchange, we had to, improve it a little bit more. Yeah, I think at that point we'd already worked on the remake for Africa. And like we had just put that out, free download, whatever. I think on like the OK Player boards, and you know, folks was like tripping.
Yeah, yeah.
And we was like, oh shit, because we had taken Africa and then we did like a second part where we just did our own little song at the end. And that was the theme of what became the 80s joint. Like we would do remakes, but then we would break off and then do our own shit and make it really our own. So like after that, we was like, man, these niggas is really buzzing right now. Like that's kind of crazy. So we was like, man, we gotta go left, man. We gotta do like the whitest shit ever. And so we was like, let's do Take On Me. Whereas it's like, you know, that shit is like, you do the Carlton of that shit, man.
Yeah.
But like the thing, you know, as you know, growing up when we did, you know, we didn't have hip hop 24/7.
Nah.
We listened to everything.
Simply Red. Yeah.
So
all
like,
the Bangles.
Right. So everybody our age will hear and be able to sing with it, dance to it, sing it. Everybody remembers the video, which was groundbreaking at the time. And so we was like, we did that, and that shit got crazy reception. So we was like, yo, we got 3 joints now. We got Africa, we got Stepping Out, and we got Take On Me. We might as well do an album. And so we started on the 80s album. And I think at that point, you know, we had a lot of trust, particularly him and me, in, you know, my musical output. And so he was like, you know, we gonna do If She Breaks Your Heart, which was off of the Jungle Fever soundtrack. And I turned it around, I think that day. And it's like, yo, this shit is crazy. He ended up getting Yazra to sing on it, and I think he did Bags, and then Nicolay did a second part where it kind of turned into kind of a like some Latin jazz type of shit.
Shit was beautiful, bro.
And it was fun. Like at that point, I didn't know. Like I hadn't heard anything from Leave It All Behind. Hadn't heard a single note. But it's interesting to hear Leave It All Behind and then hear that song in context and then the way that it fits. I'm just like, yo, like niggas was really locked at that point. And I think that we definitely saw something in each other the way it was like not only a brotherhood, but like a trust. Same with Tall Black. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, we see like it's very much a trust to where I can You know, when you get somebody that you working with regularly and you can just hand it off and you can go do 30 other things over here while they handling that and you have no worries about it, like you in a wonderful place.
Do you like creating in that way now?
Yes.
Over just being so. When I said instrumentalist in the beginning, that's a literal thing, dude. How many instruments do you play?
I guess 4. Keys mainly,
Okay.
bass, some drums, some guitar. But I've actually gigged on drums before.
Shit.
I've never gigged on guitar, and I've gigged on bass.
Huh. So now you like pulling in those you play it for the shell of the song, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you go and you pull in other people to play on them.
Mm-mm.
So you'll play the whole joint. Okay.
Yep. In most cases.
Okay.
Like now, you know, I have no problem delegating. I have no problem putting it, particularly on guitar. Like that's my weakest instrument. So if I'm hearing something and I'm not able to actually play it, I'll call somebody else to do it. But for the most part, probably 95% of the time, that's me playing.
So I got House Shoes, I got John Doe, I got Fonte.
Wajid is another one.
Triple P.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that you played on that goddamn song, bro. Cause that album is
It's crazy. It's crazy.
He's like a legend, bro, to me. I never met the dude before. I know y'all got connects and all of that, but he's one of them type of dudes where I feel like I would just be geeking out over. Like just in a real, not like, you know, like crazy type, but like, yo, like that's.
Yeah. And he a solid guy.
Everybody says nothing but like awesome things about him.
He a solid guy, man. And that's the thing, like when I started messing with Wajid, because he was one of the last ones in Detroit that I needed to meet. He was one of the last ones. And then when we met, we met at his loft, crazy enough. And we just chopped it up for like 2 hours.
And this is before you played on that joint.
Chopped it up, and he had a Rhodes. So as we're talking, like I'm just kind of messing around on the Rhodes. We still, you know, conversing or whatever. And he was like, "Yo, man, I got something. Hold on." And he pulls up. It's literally it's nothing but drums and Tiambe Lockhart singing. No, nothing else.
That's crazy.
And he played it like maybe one time through, and I figured where everything needed to be. He was like, "Man, we need to record that." I was like, "Bet." So I think I maybe recorded my chords first, and then recorded like the bass part. And he was like, "Man, this shit is fucking crazy." He was like, "I'm about to send this to Ubiquity, about to send this to the label, and see what's up." And so he hit me later. He was like, "Yeah, they saying it's about to be the first single." And at that point, like I had already had like just so much disappointment. I was like, "Yeah, okay, you know, we'll see." And sure enough, it was the first single. I remember going to Record Time and picking up the 12-inch and looking on it. And not only was it Keys, but Keys credit, it was a co-production credit, which Ubiquity took away from me later.
Why?
It's on some whole shit.
But you do got the vinyl that has your name on it. It's co-produced.
Yep.
Okay.
I got it hanging up on the wall. But like, Jeed has always been solid. I always look to YG. So like, knowing Jeed and knowing how he operated, I'm just like, you know, everything he was saying was coming true. So I was like, you know, I fuck with that.
Everything he was saying, like what?
Like this was gonna be the first single.
Oh, okay.
You know, when you play on this, it's going to be on the album. You know, everything that he was saying was actually happening.
It was, okay.
Which at the time, a lot of shit
was rare.
You know, we gonna take you on tour. We gonna do, and none of it happened. So I see a cat like YG and then run into Fonte, who was exactly the same way. Same with Nicolay. Both of them really, really solid. Cause like, you know, the fact that we've been friends and pretty much, I mean, we family for damn near 20 years and doing business together.
Yeah.
You know, that's a tough line to kind of manage sometimes. But it's much easier when folks are transparent with you and when, you know, what they say actually happens. Like you're more apt to do business with them again.
Yeah.
And so, you know, with the FE music thing and you know, I get monthly statements. You know what I mean? Like it's all transparent. And I do the same thing with me and Tall Black. It's like, yo, we are, you know, we're new, but we're super close.
Yeah.
And we brothers and we family. But it's like, you know, I want to make sure I'm transparent with him, just like Jeed and Tay and Nick, you know, was transparent with me, because that's, you know, and then I introduced Tall Black to Wajid and the same thing. So it's like, you know, let's get all these cats
That's beautiful.
together and you know.
So you had you have a daughter, and you were married before?
Yeah.
Okay. Your daughter is 12. Was all of this music stuff like taking a toll on your marriage in some kind of way as you were going through all of that?
Yes, I would kind of say yeah.
Okay.
I would kind of say yeah. I definitely tried not to let it hinder anything on the father side, though. You know, even now, you
Right.
know, even with traveling or whatever, you know, if I'm not with my daughter that day, then we're on FaceTime. You know, we've got to talk. Let's talk the day out. How was your day? How was this? What happened? You know, let me know what's going on, so that it's not, you know, just a, will daddy be back type of situation.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes he come back, sometimes he don't. So, you know, always a consistency. I wanted to see consistency. I wanted to see, you know, me coming through and staying there by her side and making sure that, you know, her back is gotten, and, you know, I'm here to help and support and, you know, whatever she needs. She's a daddy's girl, man.
I forgot where we were. I was telling on one of the other podcasts, if I would have ever had a kid, I always envisioned having a little girl when I was, you know, some dudes want to have a son, and I was like, nah,
You want the girl.
I think I want a daughter.
Yeah, they the best.
And
They the best.
and I'm very sensitive to like dudes who have daughters and kind of like what that relationship is like, and just kind of like being an observer of it. And I think I can't remember what event we were at, but I was in the back with y'all, and your daughter called, and you were FaceTiming, and it was almost like y'all were having dinner at the same time, because it was before, y'all were eating before the show, and I was sitting there listening to the conversation, not listening to the conversation, but listening, more so connecting with the energy that was going on between you and your daughter. And I was like, dang, this just feels like a real natural, and I was like, man, I like the way that's some beautiful shit. It was like you didn't ignore the call.
Yeah.
You were eating, and you just had that time. Like you knew, like it was almost like, this is what we do.
Yeah.
This is what this is, and let's have it. And I remember witnessing that and being like, oh, that's very dope.
Yeah.
That's very dope.
Yeah. It's like at that time, you know, my attention is you.
Yeah.
And I want you to know that. I want you to feel that. So that, you know, if you later on, which I know, you know, these teenage years are coming.
Yeah.
Later on, when you call and it's like, you know, I may be looking at the phone like, what the fuck is going on now? But either way, when I pick up the phone, it's me and you.
Has your music changed, or the way you express yourself through music changed being a father?
Only in the sense that I think that now having a daughter or having a piece of you out in the world, you just got one more person to impress, I feel like. So I feel like, if I want her to be just as proud of my catalog as I am. And I think that she is, because like she'll come back and she'll be like, my teacher played Skybreak in class today, which I'm like, her teacher would never even know if she didn't tell her.
Yeah.
If she wasn't proud of, the output or, whatever. So
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
now that she's old enough, I include her on the songs. Like Be My Fiasco's Caramel, she's helping me with the hand claps. On on the ride, she recorded like all of my talk box parts. She sat in the chair, I showed her how to, click this, and that's record. So I was like, I need a new track.
She
click.
Now she got credit. You give her credit, or did you
sure
pull a
did.
ubiquity?
No, I'm not pulling no ubiquity. I'm not pulling no come closer.
Okay.
She gets her credit.
Yeah. That's dope.
Yep. So she got and then on Forefront, she spoke at the end of For Moms about her grandmother. So
Nice.
All of my albums, I want to kind of bring her in some kind of way.
That's beautiful.
So that, if she happens not be proud of my shit, she can be proud of her contribution. So, I asked her, what's your favorite song on Abstraction? She was like, The Ride. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, shit.
That joint is. What's with you in one word album titles, bro?
It wasn't really a thing until maybe Man-Made. I don't know. It just seems just really straight to the point.
I like it. I think it's dope. But because when you look down, you say do, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yep.
Like, is he trying? It's like not trying, but
it's almost creating your own series. So like with Sunstorm, Man-Made, Skybreak, Forefront, all one word, 2 syllable, compound words, I guess, made up. Where the first, each word is capitalized. So it's like it's a series. Whereas it's, those 4 are like the producer compilation joints, solo producer compilations. And then after Forefront, that's done. Cool, let's move on and do something else. Because at that point, I was gonna do an album with Tall Black, then I was gonna do an album with this person and the album with this person. But then the album and our working relationship hit off so well that it was just like, shit, well, me and you are now a production team and we have to now do blah, blah, blah. So that's why even on Abstractions, if you look on the cover art, we don't have none of our logos, like the Zoe logo's not on there, Tall Black's logo's not on there. It's just straight up, because it's pretty much a new thing, a new series. Abstraction starts here. This is album number 1. And then, when we do something else the next time, it may continue that, it's something like that to where it's just, it kind of differentiates different parts of your career.
You are, for all intents and purposes, independent, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming that's deliberate.
Very.
What does being independent mean to you? Because I'm sure there's a cost and a benefit for both, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a cost and benefit for being independent. Mm-hmm. Why did you choose to stay independent, and what do you feel it cost you and you gained?
The main reason is because you can make whatever music you want to at whatever time. There's nobody telling you what not to do, what not to create. You can do whatever you want. And, if you want to dip off and do music for Sherman Showcase, you can, without having to sign off any labels. You ain't got to do none of that shit. So it's like you're free creatively, completely and totally free creatively. And as a creator, that's what everybody strives for.
Right.
On top of that, shoot, a lot of folks that I know who are signed, they trying to get off their fucking label. So, and just seeing that pattern, I'm just like, well, I don't want to be bound into that. Particularly in 2022, where you don't necessarily need to be signed in the first place.
Direct to consumer.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's very much, this is the most organic music that you're getting. You know, straight from my mind to your ears, pretty much.
But you don't have the machine.
You don't have the machine. So, you know, my career has been a slow burn. That's still a slow burn. You know, if you go into a circle of people and you be like, yo, you heard this Zoe album? Like, who? Or maybe one person to be like, yeah, I may have heard blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, you know, we're still working against that and getting music to masses. And it's funny enough, like my most popular song is probably not on any of my albums. It's fucking Drop It Low for Jesus.
What?
Yeah. The Sherman Showcase shit.
I ain't never heard that.
Yeah, it's Sherman Showcase is a parody show. It's a show that kind of parodies like Soul Train and Solid Gold and all that stuff. It's like it parodies these dance shows.
Drop It Low with Jesus.
Drop It Low for Jesus.
For Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh
Yep.
shit.
Yep. And it's super crazy. It works in the context of the show. And you know, it was unique because they took the music from the show and released it as an album.
Oh.
And so it is funny because it came out the same day Forefront came out. So I was like, yo, I got 2 albums coming out at the same time. But Drop It Low, you know, of course, judging by the title, of course, that gets all the attention. And what it is that, you know, folks see the video for it or the show clip from it, and they just go off. They're like, oh man, this is black. They going to hell and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, yo, it's a parody. Like, relax. It's a parody.
And that's your biggest song?
Probably most popular. But the thing is that nobody knows I did it. I did the music. Fonte helped to write it, and yeah.
Are you I don't want to say content, but the slow burn is something that I feel everybody's not built for.
Absolutely not.
And then, you know, that instant gratification shit, you know, that pushing a boulder up a hill kind of thing isn't something that most people are predisposed to subjecting themselves to.
Shit, some days I ain't built for it.
What keeps you going?
That's a good question. I still live to hear new music. Like, I still live to make new, good music. Shit that I want to hear. Cause it's like, it's nothing, it's no feeling like that. You make a new jam and it's like, you play it and you be like, man, this shit is fucking crazy. And then you stop it, shut everything down, come back the next day, and it sounds just as crazy as the day before. There's no feeling like that. That's how we felt, for example, like when we was doing Hold My Hand, for example. I remember me and Terrell, like that was like the 3rd joint we had ever did together. And we was like, this shit is nuts. Even with no vocals, it was crazy. Like he would come through, and I'd be like, yo, it was the instrumental was called Woodward Avenue, which is, you know, street at the crib. So we would play, we was like, man, that shit sound like some stankin' lankin' pimp shit. So we was like, when he was set up, I would pull it up and we'd play it. And it was only like 2 minutes long, and I'd have to keep restarting it. But I was like, yo, like we've got something with that one. And there's no feeling like that, because it's like you created something from your head.
Yeah.
And even better, we collaborated and created something.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I still chase that feeling. Even on stage, we chase that feeling.
When's the last time you felt that?
Maybe with if it wasn't with Connected, it was with Love Feels by Be My Fiasco, when we did that joint.
So it doesn't happen often.
It doesn't happen often. I think we come close on stage, because that's just another, I think that's a feeling you chase, and then when you capture it, you just try to keep it as much as possible while on stage, and like it's almost a feeling of levitation, where it's just like you kind of just you've left for a second. I know we've had that we talked off camera. We've had that at the Philly show that we did in January. We levitated a few times in that show. The second show we did here in DC, at City Winery in July, and we left the ground a few times in August in Chicago.
You hear people talk about catching the Holy Ghost like at church and stuff, bro. And I've never had that kind of experience in a church, bro. But I have had it literally in this chair, listening to music.
Yeah.
I've had it listening to the song y'all did, Nothing Greater Than the Sun. I lose the words, the titles. But the words to that, the one joint, I was standing up in the back and I was crying as I was listening to that joint. And sometimes I can feel that in a conversation, bro. And talking to somebody. And it's so weird that a lot of what I felt I was doing when I would DJ or even with like music, there are parts of that occur in a conversation that I feel really connected to. And it's one of the reasons why I kind of like talking and connecting with people is a form of that, because we're creating a song in a way just by this energy and where it goes. And you know where you want to go. You got a shell, but you got to leave room for improvisation.
Right. Y'all are co-writers.
Yeah.
In a sense.
And it's a beautiful thing, man, to see where two energies can take something and what you do with it. And I'm finding, and Terrell and I talk a lot about where we are like in our creative journeys and how we process things or how we create. And what I find now is that there's, when you're younger in it, you feel like you want to throw every motherfucking thing in there, every sound, let's go put this in, let's go put this in, let's go put this in. And then you find out like, oh, okay. Minimalism is just as a skill and talent associated with that. Like, what do you put in? What do you leave out? When do you bring it in? How can you make this thing with the least amount of stuff as you can?
The space is an instrument too.
Space is an instrument. And how do you don't realize that, I think, early on when you're creating, because you think a lot of creation is about what you put into it.
Right. Right. Not what you take out.
And where are you in your creative process in determining like what you're doing with these things and what you're putting in and taking out and that sort of stuff?
I'm heavy into, and I think Terrell will tell you this too, like Just collaborating. I think collaborating saved my career, or I guess not my career, but shit, maybe my life. Just when it was just in a tough spot. Because I mean, me hitting Terrell up at the suggestion of Fonte was basically because I was plateauing creatively, and I was putting in, but like it wasn't shifting anything. It wasn't seeming like I was growing. It seemed like I was just kind of going through the motions. And Tay was like, man, what you think about collaborating with somebody, like somebody that's, close in the area? And we started, talking about people, and it was like, yo, what about Tall Black? Like, yeah, let me hit him. I hadn't hit him. We hadn't worked on anything before. We had only conversed. Like, we had a drink when Kelly introduced us face to face, and that was like 2017. We had been fans of each other for years, and we had corresponded just through DMing and things like that. After he did like This Could Be the Night remix, but even then it wasn't even on no music shit. It was on life shit. Because like at the time, I think he was on a weight loss journey, and I had just started, so we was just talking about that. So hitting him up to collaborate, it opened up so many doors. And it's like, yo, you got somebody you can trust musically, whose ear you trust, whose instrumentation you trust. This is what needs to happen. Like, this is how you're supposed to make music, at least at this point in your life. This is how you're supposed to make music. Like, you've done it by yourself for this long, and you've taken it as far as you can take it. Now, collaborate with somebody else and see where y'all can take it.
Yeah.
And I feel like what we did for Abstractions was the result of that, because it don't sound like nothing in my catalog. It don't sound like nothing in his catalog. And, we were able to take it and build it together in the same room, and, now playing it out live, and, taking it and tweaking it, and, moving it all, through all these new changes with the board, and it's like, yo, like, this is, I would have never thought, because I'm always like, by myself, I'm solo, I'm, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you working with somebody, you're not taking away what you're doing. Yeah. Y'all have respect for each other. So it's building upon what you're doing. Yeah. And, it's a great place to be when, again, I always say that I feel like I caught lightning in a bottle twice with Fonte and with Tall Black, whereas a lot of people don't catch it once.
So you sound really excited, man, about the future.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We were just texting, this was two, 3 nights ago, about some shit, about, ideas for, an intro for a new album. And, we just going back and forth, like going crazy. So it's like, I think Abstractions is just the beginning.
Is there somebody else you would like to work with?
There are tons. Off top, I can think of Faith Evans is one. Layla Hathaway is another. Lettucey is another. Rasan Patterson is another. And I think a lot of those are starting to line up. But, we're being really patient. Yeah. And I definitely think that collaborations aren't to be forced. We see a lot of things, like even if I were to meet Letta, I haven't even met Lettucey, but we've communicated and talked about, because she heard Talking to Myself and loved it. And was like, yo, and I was like, yo, we ready when you ready. Yeah. We said the same thing to Layla, we ready when you ready. But it's like, if I meet Lettucey and we take a picture, automatically in the comments, folks will be like, man, y'all should collaborate, y'all should collaborate. Yeah. And I'm like, we should, but if it don't happen, that's what happens. Like, I'm cool with that. Because I just think that your musical relationships should really mirror your personal relationships. I can't make music with people I don't like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you make music with people you like, and even more so people you love, I think the product is gonna show that.
Otherwise, you're gonna have a Jay-Z and R. Kelly, a best of both worlds.
That shit was the worst of both worlds. They came out with 2 of them albums.
Man, I think your story is so fascinating, brother, and I hope that I was able to shine some light on like your journey and there's a documentary that you did for
Skybreak. It's called Making Skybreak.
Making Skybreak and Making Man Made.
Yeah, that's right.
You did 2 of them. Making Skybreak is on Quali TV, which is a Black-owned. They just got nominated for an award for something. I just got an email like yesterday or a couple days ago from the woman who's the.
And it's literally like one sister running it.
Yeah,
that's her baby. She runs it. She responds to emails. Like me and her have corresponded because she reached out to me.
Dope.
To get Making Skybreak. And it's been up there ever since. And yeah, much love to her. Like and she's doing a thing.
Go check that out. I'm gonna put a link in the description to go on and check it out. Making Man Made. Like if you are a Zoe fan and you connect to his music and it resonates on any level, connecting to the backstory, understanding, where this brother's come from, his journey will help a lot, will help add context, I would say, to the sounds, man.
Because as a producer, I'm not on the mic, so I have to let my music speak and let my backstory and interviews speak for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're not able to get my personality. Like people don't know about me.
Yeah.
Even if they know about me, they don't know about me.
Yeah.
I get that a lot. Like, yo, I didn't even know you was this funny, or like, I didn't know that you was this tall. You know what I mean? People don't know shit.
I was telling Terrell, he was like, man, that dude is a jokester. And it comes out in your stage performances.
Right.
Even though, you're a producer, you're extremely charismatic, dude, and you connect in a very genuine way with the audiences, with your call and response, and your engagement and that kind of stuff. And it's worth experiencing you guys live.
Yeah.
And to that point, there's some tour dates coming up.
Yep.
Would you happen to know them offhand?
Yeah, we're gonna be in Cleveland, actually next week on October 8th. Saturday,
Okay.
October 8th, part of the Black Joy Festival. This is the inaugural festival, first one, and we're headlining it. So it's super dope, free with registration. So come through.
So is that the one Daniel's doing?
Yeah.
Oh, shout out to Daniel.
Yeah. And then we hit North Carolina. We're in Charlotte on October 14th at Neighborhood Theater, and we're at the Pinhook in Durham. It's a day party on October 16th. That shit's gonna be.
I might have to go to Durham, bro.
It's gonna be a reunion, man. We're gonna have pretty much everybody who you think is been on the albums that's in North Carolina. I've reached out, and we're gonna have some fun. Like, I haven't seen a lot of these cats in a minute, and definitely haven't seen them in the same spot in the same space at the same time. So that one's gonna be special. And we just booked DC again for February 19th at City Winder.
That's a great venue.
Yeah.
The sound
Yeah.
is awesome. Not a bad seat in the house. It's a decent size, yet still intimate. You still feel connected to the crowd.
Yep.
And we be repping, even though Zoe's from Detroit, he live in the DMV, and we show up and show out for the brothers, man.
Now, DMV comes through, man, every single time. Like, we sold it out the first time. Second time, it was really, really close, but the energy was through the roof. And, you know, that was one thing that I noticed when I moved out here. I was like, yo, y'all give it up for cats. Like, when y'all ride with somebody, y'all be riding with somebody. So I really, really, I have always appreciated that about this area, and you know, making my transition out here back in '06, like really pretty smooth. Like, it was
Nice.
it was open arms when I came out.
What brought you to this area, by the way?
You know what? I was contemplating either moving to the East Coast or the West Coast.
Okay.
My mother is originally from Gaithersburg.
Oh,
And
shout out to Mama Zoe.
Yeah, and so, like, my grandmother, rest in peace, she was still in the same spot. So, like, I was like, you know, let me move out here. You know, I have access to New York if I want to go, because I was looking at New York, but like, it was like $800 for a space like this.
Right.
So I was like, nah, I'm good. But I'm like, you know, New York is 4 hours north, North Carolina 4 hours south. Everybody comes through DC.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, it wouldn't be much of a learning curve for me, because I come out here pretty much every year to see family. So it was a logical move.
Well, man, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that Kelly is a beautiful woman, bro. And my life, not just musically, but personally, has been transformed by that woman. She introduced me to Afrobeat and all these other different types of sounds and deep house music and stuff, man. And I never thought that she would have introduced me to my brother.
Right.
You know, that we just got that thing, man. And it's a beautiful thing. And to watch him create that beautiful thing with like other people, man, it's I want to make sure that I acknowledge her for just all the ways in which she's made connections, man, and made people who will never know
Right.
that they're benefiting from these connections because of her. But it's being a stand-up motherfucker, man, a good human being it'll get you everywhere, bro.
Yeah.
Might be a little slow,
Yeah.
but it'll get you everywhere.
It's very underrated, man. Because
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of folks are trying to make a living off of being an asshole. And I'm like, nah, that ain't it, man. Because at the end of it, man, we got our legacy. Like, we can go tomorrow. You go tomorrow, it's like, you know, you still got this catalog, and you still got folks like, yo, man, that was a good dude.
Yeah.
That was this, that was that. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of that comes back to you in life. And, you know, if you're able to stand 10 toes down, man, you good out here. Why be a jackass?